Sorry, my computer half froze in the transition to the room. That's never happened before. Like I can't even use my mouse to do anything. Yeah.
If you need to leave and come back, we'll let you do that.
Let me try something real quick.
I'm only here because Abolition's a dumbass.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm dumb. I'm really
All
stupid.
right.
That's all.
My mouse is working again.
His mouse is working.
You fixed it, guy.
I'm bringing him back.
Okay.
Let's see what. Okay.
Okay.
I'll wait for him. I'll wait a second. Let me message him.
Okay. All right. So we're beginning an open walk on panel. Everyone, guys, if you want to be a part of this, the links to the show, head up to the Discord. You'll find it in the description, right? Jump into there, jump into the robot waiting room. So we'd love to have you part of this, right? So this is open panel, right? That we allow people all to join in. So we'd love to see you. I see. That's what happened. Okay, great.
Let's cross our fingers.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
hear
we can
you.
hear
All
you.
right. Sorry about that craziness.
Yeah. I'll
Discord
also
sucks
just
sometimes.
letting you know, super chats are right on stream. So like if you have anything you want to say, right? Like
Racial slurs, so on.
indeed, that won't stop me. So the more N-words, the better, honestly, right?
N-words cost $50.
N-words cost $50.
Extract from the racist.
So yeah, super chats are read directly on stream, as you can see down there in the thing, right? So support this channel that way. That's a huge help. Okay. So yeah, let's jump into it. We got some individuals. We have Abolition, who's back with us. Thank you so much for being here, Abolition. How are you?
I'm doing good. I heard guns, and that's my time to shine, because I remember you called out specifically somebody that was just like on principle pro gun but didn't currently own one. And I fit that bill. So I was like, all right, well, sure, I'll come up.
Absolutely, love to have you here. All right, great. Next we have so is it Hoxie? Hoxie?
Yeah, Hoxie.
Hoxie, excuse me, Hoxie. Yes. Hoxie, thank you for stopping by. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yo,
Okay.
let's see if he wants him.
And then last but not least, well, or maybe I don't know if someone's popping in. But
7
last but
crumbs
not
ahead.
least, we have my main man, B More.
Look, I'm just here because I'm fundamentally against gun ownership, right? I believe that this level of power should only be in the hands of police officers. I think police officers historically have demonstrated that they're great for minority groups. They help prevent crime. And honestly, if something happens, you don't need to be your first responder, right? Just call for help. Even if the robbers is 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just deal with it, comply, and everything will be okay, right? And that's what I advocate for.
See, my galaxy brain takes have already affected them. Love to see it, right? And we also have my man Zin, who is here. We haven't seen Zin in a while. Like,
yes, another fellow gun grabber. Let's take these guns together.
Yeah, like shout out to Zin. Zin is out here supporting this community. All right, thank you for being around, Zin.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Zin, your audio's low.
Life's been a little interesting. I just finished my 3rd divorce.
Bro, you've been finalizing that divorce forever. Is it
Yeah,
done yet?
right? Like,
Hey,
it's been a while.
I'll tell you guys, like, think about it this way. My first 2 were horrible. This one, she paid me.
Yo, let's get it. That's a come up.
Nice.
Come up.
I'm just telling you.
Go on,
Like,
please.
yeah, I know y'all don't get to hear that happen that often. Like, the guy gets the win, but I got the win.
Oh, you're a
Hell
piece
yeah.
of shit, and I love it.
All right. And then our man, what's up, Smooth, has joined us as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So before I want to give B more the space to say more things that I'm going to disagree with.
Why would you do that?
And it's gonna make like a vein on my head up here, right? But before we do that, before we jump into B more, I just want our new people to be able to get in there their thoughts first. And if you guys want to talk, if we want to move on the conversation to something else, that's perfectly fine as well. But I do want to give B more the space to get all his points across that he may not be able to get through previously. All right, but first, abolition.
So
Uh,
oh yeah, go ahead.
I guess I didn't actually introduce the topic. We were talking about guns, right? And we were talking about doing the right thing, limiting guns, and other people were suggesting the wrong thing. But yeah, we were talking about the mass shootings that have been taking place, right, and how we can mitigate those things. So setting it up, go ahead, knock it out of the park.
Yeah, so I see all the stuff in the news, like kind of growing up, right? Of like this, like throughout the years, as long as I've been old enough to be aware of the world around me, like there's been mass shootings and school shootings going on, and I have always struggled with like depression and like mental or like social anxiety and other kind of like mental health issues. And so I have also been living in Texas, so I've lived with access to firearms, and I used to train high schoolers while I was in high school how to shoot. But I've never personally owned a firearm because I felt like it wasn't necessarily a responsible thing for somebody in my mental health to like actually pursue. I have now since grown out of that period, or have like become more healthy mentally, and I'm about to be in a place where I'm gonna like have my own house. I'm going to be starting my own careers out of university. So it is now the time for me to pursue owning a firearm. Particularly because
I can help you with that.
You have been helping with that. Thank you. There's a because of like the violence that you see in the news, right? That's one of the sources of the anxiety of like, oh, I do need a firearm, not that I need to go out of my way to limit the number of weapons on the streets, because like understandably you could perceive how reducing the number of weapons on the street would lessen the amount of crimes, but the people that are going to commit crimes, that are like thinking about committing a crime beforehand and the tools that they need to commit that crime, are going to go get those tools regardless if they're legal or not. And so it only makes sense for me personally to go through the legal routes, being someone who's gone through a lot of self-evaluation to decide whether or not I'm the right kind of person to have a gun, and that has been something that has been happening for like 10 years at this point. Like I feel
like
personally I'm qualified to have a firearm, like, and I think because of how dangerous the world is, particularly living in the United States, that it is within my best interest to even at least hold a handgun on me when I walk around. And then the cherry on top of all that would be like, I think I have a fundamental right to own a firearm. This is more like a philosophical stance. Like I have the right to bear arms, and then also the Second Amendment also says that I have the right to bear arms. Like I think those are two tangible things. Like I think there's legal documentation that reinforces a natural right, so to say. And this is you pretty much have to strip that right completely to make any kind of like adjustments of like what do you want to call it, like seriously restricting who gets to own a firearm. So I have reservations against that.
Zin, please, and then after that we'll go Hoxie.
In what other country?
You sound pretty low. Can you get close to your microphone?
I turned it to 200 and he's all right.
Is this better? I'm sorry. I haven't. It's been almost a year. You know.
Yeah.
It's been. Yeah. I'm trying to tweak equipment. But yeah, in what other country does this happen?
I'm gonna tell you straight up that this question, Zin, did you give up your gun?
I still don't have one, brother.
Oh, okay. I thought you got one. But here's the thing.
No, I still want that Sig Sauer 365 you talked to me about. I still want it. I want it. But why is the Sig Sauer like twice the cost of a Glock? Anyway.
It's not. It's not. We can get into that later. But
right.
Straight up, what Abolition just explained was his fundamental belief of being able to, or at least maintain the capability to defend himself, right? And then on top of that,
right, but the only reason
be able to do so with an effective tool, right?
Let's stop right there. Defend yourself. Defend yourself from what?
Guns.
From guns. No, you're defending yourself from guns with
not
guns.
necessarily.
No, not necessarily. Like the first time I almost died would have been a stabbing. So like, The range of violence is like more than just like, oh, there's other guns on the street, so that's what I'm afraid of. Is there's bad
Awesome.
people out there. They're using tools of
I
violence.
get it. There were fucking bears and mountain lions in my yard in Colorado, right? I mean, I wanted a fucking 45 just so I could back one of those fuckers off if they got ugly. I mean, I get it, but that's like
it. So you answered your own question.
That's against animal, right? And so we have to accept what we're trying to say here is humans are so animal that we need to be ready to splatter a human tomorrow.
No, that's not the point. The point is if someone's trying to do that to me, right? Similar to that bear or that animal that you're scared of, right? Why would they not be worthy of the same response?
And now
why would they not be worthy of the same response?
Now you're equating the aggressive humans to that, right? I mean, how can you
why?
I thought we were in a different place, right? I thought
why should I treat either one dangerous?
I mean, we're gonna return Roe v. Wade, right? So doesn't human life matter?
Not when they are actively trying to take my life, right? Plain and simple.
Of course, and that's what I've always loved.
Like, I do value life. I don't want to see that bear dead, brother, right? I would rather try to run away, but running away from a bear isn't necessarily the best idea. Now, running away from a human, right? I do work out. I do run regularly. I will try to leave, right? What if I trip?
Right.
What if I can't? What if like in the future, let's say I have a kid and I have a stroller.
Might die,
what if I'm hanging out with a chick and she's wearing heels? Like, oh, this little ass, she can fend for herself. Fuck it all.
Okay,
cool.
No,
I will stand my ground in these particular situations.
So what if you're a kid in school hiding under a desk?
Yeah, if I was a kid in school, right? I always felt this even when I was in school. I didn't like the fact that mass shootings would never occur in a courthouse, right? I didn't like the fact that a mass shooting would never occur in the schools of the prominent, right? It made me very mad to see private schools, right? To see actual institutions, courthouses, and so on, actually make the decision that those inside of those buildings are important, but those inside of this building are not. That's what pissed me off as a kid. What I mean by a kid in high school, because I wasn't thinking about this in middle school, right? Let's be clear about that.
You taught me a lot, brother. You taught me a lot.
So it's just like, if my life is just as precious as the Obama's daughters, if my life is just as precious as that judge, why don't we get the same level of protection? Because clearly,
the thing is,
Democrats have their
everyone
sights.
With guns?
They have their sights aligned on the wrong issue.
Everyone with guns, though.
Is it
everyone?
Does everybody in a courthouse have a gun? Does everybody in the White House have a gun? Does everybody inside of the schools NRA, of the millionaires have a gun?
The big
no, they have controlled points of entry
that's
and
about
actual
to happen,
security.
Right? And why don't schools?
Well, say the last part again.
And why don't schools
have this level of security?
Same level of security.
Because I mean, in Prime, this is. And this is where my fundamental disagreement with you kicked in, right?
Oh, okay. Before we do that, and I want to give you the space, Bmar. I promise I'll give you the space to lay it out on me. But I want to get Hoxie in here, and then Zigmover if he has something he wants to add. But I will absolutely give you the space, Bmar. Hoxie.
Yeah, my experiences as a biomed research scientist, and all during my undergrad and all during my graduate school experience currently, the thing that's always bothered me is just how far people extrapolate from bad science. And social sciences in general are the epitome of bad science research in general. It's just god awful on both sides of the fence. So many people make it seem black and white when it just simply is not. So the stance I've always took is more practical. I worry about the practicalities of changes made in law to make changes to societal differences that we are looking for. I think some more gun laws make sense. A lot of the problem with mental illness in the country is that there isn't a lot of teeth with the laws. The state and a lot of institutions don't have a lot of power to intervene when they need to. You hear this a lot with homelessness in California, but it's true with just about everything. I think if we started making law changes according to that might help a lot. I think there are certain things we can do with gun laws regarding like banning automatic rifles before just that date cutoff that is the exception to that rule. I think there's an interesting argument that could be made about semi-autos, but so many things are semi-auto. especially in hunting, that it doesn't make as much sense, and you're going to be losing a lot more than the things that we're worried about if you ban stuff like that. So
The thrill of
to
the
make my
hunt
point,
is
basically, it's the practicality that I worry the most about, and it's the
Yeah.
practicality that I almost never hear anybody actually like think about in depth.
So let me
Nobody
tell you
thinks about
this, though.
repercussions.
There is no documented case of a mass shooting with a pre-banned full auto. Just making sure you know that.
Why is
Of
that, do you
course,
think?
they're all semis. They're all semis.
No, because
Come on now.
they're very scarce,
Yeah.
right? Like they're very scarce in general. They're pre-bans, right? So they're,
Okay.
they're loopholed guns, and they're so highly collectible, right? That the individuals who want them don't let them out often, right?
But you
So-
don't need
So
a
here's
full
an
auto.
interesting caveat to
But
that.
it's
What about
semi-auto
bump
to
stocks?
So interesting. I mean, bump stocks suck. Like you can ban them, and it won't lead to nothing. So I just say fuck it. If you want that ban, if it
Bump's
somehow makes you
dumb.
feel
But
better,
I mean,
let it
not
go.
only
That's
should you
that's
ban them,
weak. That's
you
weak
should
speed.
make it highly illegal to manufacture them, so that the people that
Yeah.
try to do it pay a terrible price.
Bump stocks are really not that effective. They're like the meme in the gun community. People
They're
buy
also
them.
dangerous, though.
Not necessarily. You could
It
bump
makes
fire
it a
them.
lot
They're
easier to
dangerous
lose
start
control of the gun.
spray, But you can't have
It-
accuracy with a bump stock.
If you maintain
can't
all
have
3 points of
accuracy with it.
contact, debatably 4, cheek weld,
Mm.
stock, hand, and then foregrip, right? No, not necessarily. Bump stocks are they're similar to the boogeyman effect of ghost guns.
Right.
If you want bump stocks, you can have them. Like I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, and I can even tell you, bump stocks are so dumb. You want to ban them? I'll give it to you. Congrats, you have it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you've already convinced me on Beamer. Already convinced me on that. Like, that's pretty useless. Zig Mover. Oh, sorry. Were you done, Hots? Before you Zig Mover, were you done?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Zig Mover. Okay. And then we'll go to Beamer. Assuming Smooth doesn't have anything to say. Okay.
I was going to go off Zen's point because I heard Zen talking defend you against what, and it perked my interest and perked my ears and made me hop in. Zen, I love you, man. We go way back. I
What's
love
up,
you, man.
Zig? Yep.
Hey, how's it going?
Zig. Yep.
I think guns are there not to defend you against other people with guns. I think it's just defend for me. It's to defend my family and my household.
Okay.
I'm pretty much sure you're probably in the same boat that I would die to protect my fiance, my parents, my sister,
Absolutely.
my dogs, my cat.
I'd die to protect my children.
Right.
I'd die to protect my ex-wives.
But when I'm not in the
not kidding,
house,
yeah.
when I'm not in the house, now, mind you, everybody in the house that's in our house is trained, right? Trained to use a firearm, trained how to use it, trained how to deal damage with it, trained how to kill with it.
Okay. That
So
sounds creepy.
So I know it kind of sounds menacing, but
that's actually very smart. I commend you on that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So I have a actually real life situation that happened about maybe 2 or 3. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
My fiance was in the house by herself. I think she just got home from work. It's like late, like 2 a.m. I was out of town with family, so our family was out of town. She was at home by herself. And a person tried to break into her house.
Sure.
The person that she's like 4'9", probably 120 pounds soaking wet. So she's very small.
She's hot. All right, go.
So the person that was trying to break in, she described as somebody that was about 5'8", 5'9", about
Fuck. All right.
Yeah. So like way bigger than she is and heavier than she is. What caused the intruder to stop in his tracks and turn away was her grabbing our freaking our freaking shotgun and cocking it in the chamber.
Oh fuck!
Once he heard that, he stopped and just walked away. So like,
I'll do it every time.
Right on.
The thing about Zig's story is, unfortunately, there's no study, there's no statistic, there's no way to account for this, right? People give up their own proposed numbers on defensive gun usages, and unfortunately, fortunately, either way you want to see it, it's if the gun isn't fired, if the gun is not discharged, then it simply doesn't go towards the metric. So these stories Zig, my grandmother has a similar story, but it was a revolver and it didn't need to be cocked; it just needed to be pointed, right? in the eyes of those who hyperfixate on studies, which in the majority of gun studies are conducted poorly, especially if you take a look at Dancing Spoon's entire, so like his little Google Doc of sources, Revolt Rise and I went down study by study, and it was absolutely embarrassing. They're so poorly conducted. Same thing with defensive gun usages. There's no numbers on it. Your fiance's life was saved, one way or another, right? One way or another. My grandma's life was saved, which led to my mother being born and eventually me. And nobody cares though. And anti-gunners do not care.
The thing,
first of all, I
the
care.
thing that went down with me in my life didn't involve guns, but it did involve like we're gonna fucking kill each other or not, right? So I absolutely get it, but guns are a different level. They're a different what's the thing? It's a level of force, right? And so guns immediately like dead, like. But as far as punching somebody in the mouth, that doesn't mean they're dead, right?
Yes.
And so why do we have to operate on the gun level? Why can't we operate? Go back and operate on the.
Why'd you ignore Zig's hypothetical though? Or no, not Zig's situation. Why'd you ignore it? Right? This is a person that is 200 plus pounds, over 6'5".
That person didn't have a gun, and she defended with a gun. Well, awesome.
Yeah, but the whole point is
that gun with any other weapon, and it would have been
didn't know if the
successful.
guy had a gun or not. Like,
But
that was her first instinct.
An aluminum bat does that.
No, it does not.
No, it
not in some people's hands.
Zin, believe it or not, I've caught baseball bats in my bare hands before, and you know how you do it? You charge in quick and fast. You don't give them a chance to wind up.
I wouldn't expect someone elderly or a woman to be able to wield a bat against me effectively anyway. So while a gun is extra force, that's why it is the best equalizer. Because it doesn't matter if you're elderly, disabled, or a woman.
That's the problem.
A gun will make you at the top instantly.
Exactly. An assault rifle or even a fucking fat pistol. I mean, a nice 357. You're gonna blow right through somebody. It's done. And but it's like
nobody's advocating for these big
can I ask him? Wait. Let me ask him a question real quick. So look, when it comes to the preservation of your life and your family's life, you want to give that person an opportunity or a chance to take yours in their life. The gun.
I want to give the person that's coming at me a chance to live.
So look. Here's the thing. In an ideal world, that sounds really good on paper. But when this person is dead set,
right. I'm a candy ass. You're right. I'm kind of a candy ass that way.
Dead set on killing y'all, like whatever their reason is, and they're dead set on killing you.
No,
well, then I'll fucking kill them.
That's not the point.
You need the option viable to completely neutralize. If
and the problem is you don't know if they're dead set on killing you.
You make a friend. You make a friend. You walk up behind. You spin their fucking neck, and they're dead.
No, that's not how that works, bro. Listen,
that's also not a thing.
Listen. You're what? You're what? 5'9", 5'8", what?
5'10".
Are you 6 foot? You're 5'9".
I'm 5'10".
But you're also like 77 years old.
Look,
I'm 77. Listen to you,
Joe Biden.
So listen, if you're that size, right? Do you think you could confidently take someone that's of, I don't know, like Mike Tyson stature? You know what I'm saying? Or
well, I mean, built like that, I'd start a fight, right? But
no. I'm saying they're coming.
It's heavier, and they're coming at me. I'm picking up a stool and hitting them with it. I don't play fair.
I honestly think that would stop them. I've seen it happen in a bar. The dude hit him with a stool, and he still beat him and threw him out the club.
Shit.
Yeah, so Smooth. I think the important point to make is that just because someone wields a gun against their aggressor, that does not mean they want to kill the person, right? What is it? Zig lives in a state that has stand your ground laws, right?
Right.
And his fiance had the ability to shoot that intruder, right? But she did not, right? Because her goal was not to kill someone. Her goal was
I said having
her goal was to stop the threat, right? When I own guns, my goal isn't to kill anyone. I hope to never kill anyone. I hope to never.
That's why I love being more.
Goes away.
But if I can stop the threat, cause a break in contact by literally being in possession of something,
B-more would literally blow somebody's foot off before he would.
I'm agreeing with you,
No, I would not. If someone breaks into my house right now, and I tell them to leave and they do, fine, beautiful. I see them reaching in their pockets, reaching behind them, story changes, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but I will give them the opportunity to simply walk away. Because my goal isn't to kill someone.
Okay, so
like sometimes you're just like, hey, maybe you should back off.
I want to engage you, be more a bit here, and then Dr. K, we're gonna go to you afterwards. And thank you for being here. It's nice to have you around. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
Dr. K.
So look, Bmore, he doesn't think he's succeeded at all with me, right? He thinks I'm completely failed, but I'm not, right? The greatest argument he's ever given me is black people protecting themselves against white violence, right? And not being able to rely on the state. So I'm with you. So why the solutions I proposed were not, hey, let's ban all guns, right? It wasn't, let's confiscate them all. It wasn't anything like that. He was talking about simply putting in restrictions, putting and raising the bar for what you have to do to get a gun. We already have those. I'm saying let's raise them. There are other countries we can copy in how they've done that, right? And amount of trading that it takes, right? And we've already talked about other solutions that that you've suggested that like I'm on for. I'm on board for. So like gun safes, right? You said like gun safes are expensive, right? We should everyone should lock up their guns, but that's super expensive. So we should subsidize that. I'd be willing to do that, right? Like absolutely. Like or was it? There's a term for it, but I don't remember what it is. But like a gun daycare center, basically when you're going out of town. And you want
it needs to be more than that. Yeah, so there is a charity called Hold My Guns.
Yeah,
but like there needs to be a way if you believe that your son's suicidal or you don't feel like you're in the proper state of being to hold a gun, you should be able to give it up. And then if you never want it back, you should be able to
and
give
we've
it up.
already agreed on that. Those things that we've agreed on, right? So I feel like the way I'm coming at you is with solutions that aren't completely beyond the pale. Like I think there are workable things here to do, right?
My problem is first off, I've seen states that increase their criteria for gun ownership, right? And you might like the fact that their gun deaths are less. What I don't like is the level of subjectivity that law enforcement's allowed to have. For example, St. Bernardino, Santa Clara Police Department, they got caught, and look it up, accepting over 80 iPads in exchange for concealed carry permits. Abolition's laughing because this shit happened. And because what happens is once you set this criteria that is so subjective where law enforcement or some individual gets to dictate whether or not someone gets a gun, you just got to pay them, right? Or you run into another situation where black people will always have to give more of a demonstration because it's may issue, not shall issue. So I'm conducting interviews to determine whether or not someone should get a gun, right? I am whatever approval agency that anti-gunners approve of, right? Black person, I'm gonna put him through the ringer. White person, handsome, beautiful man, here, savior. Thank you. Fight the good cause. Guns galore. We're seeing this happen in California. We're seeing this happen. We
do have less deaths here in California. Like we have some of the lowest in the country, and I don't care. I don't care if it accidentally leads to some discrimination. That's a separate issue.
Well, I do care, right? And not only that, we fundamentally disagree. Like gun ownership is a fundamental right. It is a constitutional right. It's at the level where I would hope
militia.
Well-regulated means under proper working order, and militia means between the organized and unorganized militia, where the organized militia is the state and the unorganized militia is everyday people who are able-bodied. These words don't mean what you think they mean. These words have definitions already provided to us.
And people blasting each other in the fucking brains all the time isn't fucking regulated.
Yes. Guess here's the problem though, because you're using the words incorrectly. This is not how the founding fathers wanted to use these words, and you just want to rule. I know you don't care. I know you don't
what
care.
The doctrine is. I don't care what you think, honestly, either about this.
That's the beauty of it.
Whoa, Dr. K, Dr.
And
K.
be tired of
Dr.
it all
K,
you want, because this conversation is still going to occur.
Let's be more finished. I do want to let you have the space, Dr. K, because you have a different opinion on this.
No. Give Dr. K the floor immediately so we can get all these emotional takes out the way.
Dr. K, go ahead.
All these emotional takes.
Hurry up, scream.
What? You're not gonna listen to me. Why should I fucking
Dr. K, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you, Dr. K.
No one's gonna fucking listen. There's gonna be more people fucking dying. Nothing's ever gonna get fucking done because we have to be all semantical about it and we have to argue and not do fucking anything about it.
And don't reference the Constitution if you don't want to use words.
The Constitution.
You want to use a passage and then say, I don't want to use semantics. You want to say well-regulated, but you don't want to use semantics.
All right,
what is law? Law is semantics.
What other law changes should we not argue about? We need to think these things over and think about the repercussions before we actually make actions on them.
Yes, of course. But like, is nobody else fucking tired of this shit? Is nobody else?
I am.
Yeah,
I'm fucking tired of making excuses for this shit and fucking jerking off and not doing anything, right? Like, I feel like I'm going fucking insane watching all this happen.
Well, I mean, it's almost like we should be addressing like the mental health crisis in the United States, and like that would somehow like maybe affect the level of violence that occurs in the United States too.
The culture is fucking sick here. It's genuinely fucking sick.
I don't know what's actually worse.
It's not even mental health. It's underlying deeper than that. It's
to justify them because they're honestly awful. Like someone was comparing an aluminum bat to a gun earlier. Like just to think about like the multiplier, the force multiplier a gun is in comparison. But you can do so much more damage to so many more people.
That wasn't the comparison being made. The comparison being made was actually on behalf, like in support of gun regulation, where Zen said you don't need a gun, you do need a baseball bat. So you probably misunderstood him.
Oh, okay, all right. I came in late.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Getting
characterization, but
getting at Dr. K's lower concern over discrimination, I'm also kind of concerned about that because typically anytime you lower privacy and subject that to subjective judgment of people, that's going to increase discrimination in just about any way you choose to do that.
Well, listen. Ultimately, right, if a body exists that regulates itself in a coherent manner, right, and manages to do it in such a way that, you know, the whatever is being held is being responsibly taken care of, whether that be hazardous materials, you know, whether that be, you know, people's money or whatever, the government doesn't have to get involved. But like, it's pretty fucking obvious that at this point, gun ownership is not being done responsibly by private organizations and by private, you know, companies, by private owners. And so like, yes, it is time, you know, to step in and make sure things are getting done properly. And like really ramp up efforts to like get guns off the street and like keep things flowing correctly.
So what would that mean? What does one of those changes look like?
Like I want thorough fucking background checks. I want an end to this fucking, you can go to like a yard sale or like, you know, a gun show or whatever and buy it from like some guy's like back of his truck with nobody, you know, knowing about that. We need an end to that fucking shit.
I think most people would agree with that.
What about
majority of gun shows or FFLs? Majority of gun shows you do go through background checks like gun shows.
What about
every single fucking one, doesn't it?
It's not every single one.
There needs to be brutal fucking consequences for anyone who deviates from that.
The majority, again, you file off serial numbers and there's no way to tell. And straight up, it's metal, you sandpaper, done. Cannot track it back after that. Even the micro stamping, for example, in California has a roster of guns, and this roster of guns is getting shorter by the year. But anyway, you're only allowed to sell guns that are on this list, right? And in order, and the gun must have micro stamping on the firing pin. The actual inventor of the technology said you fire 15, 20 rounds in that micro stamping, the etching inside the firing pin to track that owner back goes away completely. It's completely cannot be read anymore after 15, 10 shots, right? This is the level of policy that's being proposed currently. So it's just like when I tell you to be specific on what you want to do, and all you want to do is get rid of straw purchases, the majority of these shootings are not done by straw purchase guns, right? The mass shooters at least. And street guns can simply be solved by filing off serial numbers. So I would like to see better policy, and I'm down for it, but I'm just not hearing it.
Why don't we just have an older threshold to be able to own a gun, or
so moving it to 21?
Gun licenses?
Well, frankly, I'm at the point where you shouldn't own it unless you are a member of the National Guard.
Why are 18-year-olds able to get guns? I don't
that is
think
a bit sketchy.
That, the people whose emotional intelligence and hormone maturity should be able to operate a weapon that can kill multiple people.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I want to hear policy that you guys think are actually going to fix the issue, right? Because that's you guys' goal. And I guess anything short of just banning guns, I don't want to hear banning all guns. If you want to move the age up to 21, that doesn't stop the majority of mass shootings. It doesn't even stop. Maybe lucky if it's 10%.
I would be very curious.
18 to 21-year-olds is about 18%. The last time I seen.
Yeah, I think as a society we're going to have to come to terms that age of adulthood 21. We want to bump it up, fine. Damn, you can't consent to sex till 21. If you really want to play this game, bump it up, fine.
In the national.
I would be very curious what the majority of the ages of people who are committing gun violence in America are, though. Because if that is largely weighted towards one end of the age spectrum, then that might actually be something that could legitimately make an impact on gun crime. I mean, it won't be impossible to obtain, obviously, but it could impact it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to completely X out the idea of raising it to 21. I think it's minuscule, and that's the crazy thing about it. It's bump stocks, minuscule. Go ahead and do it. Over 21, minuscule. Go ahead and do it. The problem is that you guys are going to have to keep proposing things, and eventually, I do believe that fundamentally, y'all just want to ban guns because none of these efforts are going to give you the results you want to see. So you're going to keep pushing for more.
Well, then what will give it if you're so wise on this shit?
Well, the majority of mass shootings are not school shootings and they're not grocery store shootings, right? The majority of mass shootings are gang violence, right? Are happening in disenfranchised communities.
How old are people involved in gangs typically?
All ages, but being involved in
all ages. But what about the majority of the gang population?
They tend to be adults. They tend to be into adulthood.
It's grown adults.
It's grown, but it's not like a 70-30. It's pretty close to something like a 60-40.
No. Literally, it's you would safely assume. Oh, it's the younger population that's doing it. No, these are actual adults that have nothing better to do with their lives. They've already been prior convicted, so they're already illegally carrying a firearm in general, and then they're doing this stuff, and then they're getting locked up even further. You know what I'm saying? These are adults that are committing these crimes. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but again, the number by and large for the United States, I believe last time I seen it was 18%. From 18 to 21, it's 18%. That's the number.
Damn. Okay.
I'm seeing
all right.
The issue with this though is
I see different numbers.
I believe.
You see different numbers.
I believe you. Yeah. But I'm gonna look this up.
For mass, I thought for mass shootings, it was 18.
I see for gang membership. Sorry.
We're talking about shootings though, because you're in a gang don't mean you're shooting people.
No, that's
so we're
true.
talking about shooting people, and then not only that, even again, you raise the age, gangs are going to get these guns illegally. It's literally
regardless of limitation.
So go ahead and make the law, fine, right? But the whole point is you're not getting the results you want to see. What you're going to want to do is somehow bring down crime overall and recidivism. How do you reduce recidivism? A lot of shootings are done by individuals who have already committed previous crimes, right? And I don't necessarily mean other shootings, it's other crimes in general. Is we're going to have to completely rebuild the way we rehabilitate people, right? This punitive system that we go by, where we throw you in jail and then make you a better criminal, then throw you out, then you can't find any level of employability. You're no longer employable. Then you might just take up the gun, right? The war on drugs. Shout out to CTV. He likes to throw around the war on drugs, but it's a true point. The fact that a lot of gang violence does revolve around dispute between you told me you were going to give me 50 G's and you gave me 20. What's going on? You know what I mean? Or running up on someone trying to sell drugs, hitting a lick. If we made this business more legitimate and took it out of the hands of gangs, that's another way to deal with the gun issue. The majority of mass shootings, again, are not grocery stores or not schools. And there's still a way to address the school situation, which I brought up earlier, right? But dealing with the strong majority outside of that, yeah, you're going to have to bring down recidivism and bring down crime rates through dealing with poverty.
Isn't it still defined of any shooting with like 4 or more people is considered a mass shooting? So like
Yes,
at least like
yes.
4 people, yeah.
You don't have to have mass casualties to have a mass shooting,
Yeah.
According to the FBI definition and so on. You just got to have, many victims. And that also inflates the numbers, but they're still valid though, right?
Yeah, they're still. I mean, I'm not saying they're not valid.
Yeah.
It's just it inflates the numbers by a lot.
I mean, it doesn't inflate it. Yeah, but those are the numbers of mass shootings.
Yes, but
yeah,
I do
those.
think.
I mean, in other countries, they literally be scandalized by one of those things. Those only 4 people dying. So I hate the idea of saying inflate, because that's not what's happening. That's literally the definition. That's a mass shooting, right? Whether it makes the news or not, we just have so much that like we have so much death by guns that most of them don't even make the news. Like it's not even a big deal, right? It's when we reach a specific body count, then that's when everyone takes notice, right? Or maybe it hits a target that people particularly care about, like schools, then the media knows this. But no, we have mass shootings every day in this country, every single day.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
Somebody in chat said waiting periods. What's funny is every time I buy a gun, I always get flagged and I'm stuck waiting 3 days either way, due to the fact that I move so frequently. So like, fuck it. If you want a 3-day waiting period, I'm already going through it. It's kind of dumb. I already have enough guns where any other gun I buy, a 3-day waiting period is pointless. But if you want that, so be it. It's not going to stop gang shootings, and it's not going to stop mass shooters in general. Because if you plan on killing kids, you will wait the 3 days.
There's also so there's multiple problems here. Actually, before I jump in, there might be someone else who wants to go first. If someone wants to go first, I'll wait. Okay, guess not. Smooth, we can hear something in the background. If you can mute yourself.
Yeah, I stopped it. I wasn't expecting that.
Sure, no problem. Okay. So there are multiple different problems here. All right. Everything that B-More has talked about with like reducing violence by dealing with a cause, right? I agree with. I don't even point talking about it as a fucking socialist. I agree with all of that. Right? So let's do that. Let's dismantle the drug war, all that good stuff. Love to see it. But beyond that, right, which would take a massive amount of crime, right, like massive amount. But what about then dealing with the problem of domestic violence? What would you say there, More?
I think poverty and domestic violence go hand in hand. I know people hate to hear it. Yes, like women.
Rich people slap around their wives too, right?
Yeah, definitely not to the same extent. Yeah, you should take a look at the numbers. Like the majority of individuals who are beating their wives, or their girls, their girlfriends, or so on. Because let's just be clear here, the majority of cases are men towards women. I'm gonna be blunt about that. These women don't have any escape plans whatsoever. Like capability, right?
It's a small majority.
So okay,
they're close to equal.
So then that part's already taken care of, right? So this is King B-More. King B-More is implementing his goals, and he's already taking care of income inequality. So that part's taken care of. Well, the part that remains, that is hatred of women, right? Is misogynistic.
If you're a domestic abuser, you should have your guns taken from you. You do lose rights if you commit crimes, right? You should be on a prohibited list, and you should not be able to acquire guns if you're a domestic, if you physically abuse partners. Like it's really not that complicated.
Maybe I misunderstood you previously, like in our past conversations. I didn't think you were okay with these. Oh, maybe the difference is that between this and red flag law is that like there's been an adjudication, right? That there's been a court case, and then that's why you're okay with
Yeah,
taking away that
my
right.
issue with red flag laws, which Better Work likes to call like protective wrist orders and all that, it is nothing but legalized swatting. I can make a phone call right now and say, hey, there's a black man in an all blue room. He's looking at me menacingly, and he happens to be black. I think you should investigate. And if cops get to use their own discretion on whether or not they raid your shit, and I think that this will disproportionately affect minorities, and also opens up the opportunity for something that's already occurred. Swatting's already an issue. There's been streamers who died from swatting, right? I think that if somebody is at risk to themselves and others, right? Because that is what a red flag law should deal with strictly. People who are a danger to themselves and others, then you need to deal with the danger. Is the danger the gun or is the danger the person? If Prime is a danger to himself and others, he should be hospitalized. He should be jailed, not have his house ransacked. I take whatever things I view as dangerous, and then I leave him alone to his own devices. I forgot to get the shotgun out the attic. Or maybe he's just dangerous with his own bare hands, right? This is not effective. It's not effective. You need to get rid of dangerous people, or you need to put dangerous people in the right facility. Not just take a couple possessions and then you're good to go.
Okay, I can agree with you there. I can find agreement there. That actually makes a lot of sense. So
that's my fundamental disagreement with red flag laws. So when people tell me it's common sense gun control, I think when people call certain laws common sense, I think they have a piss poor understanding of law.
I'm agreeing. And first of all, I hate common sense. I definitely agree with you on this one. That's just for a second. I hate the idea like, oh, common sense gun legislation. Like, well, what the fuck is common sense? What do you think is common sense? What do I think common sense? Common sense.
Well,
there's no such thing as common sense.
Homes.
The moment you say common sense, someone's going to say some bullshit, right? That people are going to disagree with. That they're going to be massive disagreement with. So yeah, I love that, and I love that. I hate that like politicians like Obama loved to say this and Joe Biden as well, right? More common sense gun legislation without actually specifying exactly what they mean. So I'm with you there, right? So
everybody's common sense is different, right? Like, if you made threats to people's lives, I think you should go to jail.
Absolutely.
I think they should. But guess what they're going to do instead? They're going to look for guns in your house. What if your guns are in your storage unit?
Zigma, mute yourself. We can hear you typing. But here's my problem. Okay, so you're talking about domestic violence that is actually adjudicated, and that's an easy one. Okay, so we have a person who has gone through the court of law, and it's been found that they beat their wives or whatever the fuck, right? So
take the guns away.
Right? Sure, great. Here's the thing though, most domestic violence goes unreported, right? Like most times people just don't take it there. So like, what would you do then? Like in terms of like there's a gun in the household and these people escalate. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I'm still a socialist. Me being pro-gun doesn't take away from my economic policy. Okay. If people feel like they're in an environment that's dangerous, I would like for the government to take them in by choice, right? And put them somewhere safer and give them the resources for them to restart a life. I think this will cut down on suicide, period. I think that we don't have any proper safety nets. I think there should be an escape plan. If you're somewhere and this place is not conducive to your mental health and you want to go to the next city over or some other location, I think there should be some resources for that. But unfortunately, I understand that's expensive. I don't give a fuck about price. I want to put people places that are better for them. So if a woman or a person is in danger, get them the fuck out, give them the resources, transplant them somewhere that they're okay with, and then provide them the level of financial security until they get back on their feet.
Okay, so here's something you're not going to agree with, and I'm asking because I want to know why you don't. Because we're finding common ground here. That's fantastic. A lot of things that you and I both would love to implement. What you just said, perfect. Love it. Beautiful. And I guess creating a culture that makes women feel welcome, right? To come in and do something like that. So like because they don't trust the authorities, like for good reason. Right? But like we don't trust the authorities, so fair enough. But what about a medical examination, right? A medical and psychiatric examination to make sure that you are of sound mind and body before you get a gun.
I would say back to that. The only thing I would say back to that is you still run that risk of discrimination by and large, because they could just say, "Oh, you said this one thing wrong. Stamp your paper unfit." And you don't have any control over that.
You can have a second opinion.
I do think that's
you can appeal
come from medical experts, though.
That provides a different an additional roadblock.
Yeah, I know. I'm okay with putting roadblocks up. Roadblocks, yes, we need to put roadblocks.
But I'm talking about for people. I'm talking about primarily for minorities. It ends up adding an additional roadblock.
But
I'm not interested in weaponizing mental health to this extent. Point blank. If you've already been deemed like mentally ill, first off, that's not even fair. Because just like abolition has said in the past, you can go through bouts of depression, bouts of anxiety. You could be what I would consider a prohibited user.
You can
get reevaluated again. Like, unfortunately,
that's what abolition did for himself. Like,
it is not too hard to go to a 30-minute session with a psychologist and just literally just be like, "I'm chilling, bro."
I'm not sure depression and anxiety are a good reason to take away guns, though. I mean, there are many other mental health issues that are good reasons.
Okay, let me get the stat for you.
Especially depression, clinical depression is considered a mental disorder. So, like, if you're encompassing mental disorders to take away guns,
but we're not saying all mental disorders. There are plenty. Type B personality disorder.
When it comes with guns, I think it's okay to say depression may be something that
Hey, if I don't have,
I'm not sure that we should remove people's right to end their lives.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's a separate thing. We've talked about that, though. It's a good conversation, but let's go down that rabbit hole.
So, Hoxie,
but come back later. We'll have that conversation. I promise you.
If you get the chance, I would like for you to try to find, if you in the future, like in general. But for what I'm finding, right, the percentage of individuals who commit mass shootings in general, there's only a single-digit percentage of mental illness among them. So even then, some of them will still fall through the cracks. So it'll be less than so it's like so far it's looking like anywhere between 5 to 8%.
Okay.
So then you added that 5 or 8%. A good percentage of them.
Give me no, we got to dig into this, right? And
I'm looking for better
is there
numbers.
A study for that?
So I want to know about this 5 to 8%. Like, are we saying that the rest of them were evaluated afterwards and they were found to be completely and totally sane, right? Like, we just
I'm looking at
the slaughter.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Michigan Psychological Association right now. This is the reason why I said I'm looking for better numbers. If anybody can find them,
sure. Take your time. I'm just like asking questions, but you can take your time. So like, are these individuals like been evaluated afterwards and they're like, "Oh no, you're completely sane. You just slaughtered all those people, but you're good." I know there are some people who are.
I don't know. And this is the reason why before I said this, I reached out. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for better numbers, right?
No, exactly.
I am always interested in better data.
This is an attack.
My overall point is that I don't think that the amount of mass shooters, because you gotta remember the majority of mass shooters are gang related, right? And then I don't think the majority
we're eliminating that. But we're taking that off the table because you and I are agreeing on all the prescriptions to get rid of gangs, right? So we're already agreeing on that. So we're talking about what's left. The people who there's going to be a certain number of individuals who are going to commit gun violence, right? Despite everything that we've already said. So I'm trying to slowly will that away, right? I'm acknowledging that is a multifaceted problem, not a one-size-fits-all thing. So I'm looking at different solutions here. Okay, so So looking at mental health, right? I don't mind. So again, I don't mind putting up a roadblock. That's fine because what we're giving you, what we're giving a person access to, is a machine that kills humans. So I have no problem saying that yes, there are going to be barriers here. You need to clear those barriers before you get that. We do the same thing for fucking driving, getting a fucking driver's license, not a car. Driver's license. So I'll do the same thing. I'll do more than that.
Evaluations for driving. I think we probably should. But anyway,
maybe. But what
I will say.
So I'll pose it and I want to hear from you. Okay. So in that case, the things that you guys have already talked about. You said, well, there could be medical racism, right? Agreed. Well, we could get people to have their second opinion, or we can have a second opinion, or we can have maybe a panel of individuals. It's not left up to one person, right? If it's left up to one person, we're likely to have racism be interfered. But we have a panel of individuals who evaluate a person, like psychiatrists, whatever, evaluate a person. That helps. Okay. You can get it. You can appeal your decision, right? If you think it's improper, try to appeal. See what happens there. What was the other thing you guys said? God, you guys said something else that could happen. Yes, if you need to get reevaluated, right? So you were in a previous mental state that was clearly should not have a gun, then and you feel like that's changed. Well, again, the appeal process is there. You can go and get yourself checked again. So with these with those reforms in place or those caveats in place, tell me, why shouldn't we put something like that?
Yeah, absolutely not. That's an extreme limitation on a fundamental right, which I'm not going to ignore just because other people don't want to respect the Constitution. I get it. Like, there's policies I support and there's policies I don't. And at the end of it, let me answer this directly when it comes, because I do have something right for you. Is that I do support universal healthcare. I do believe healthcare should be free. I think it's in the state's interest, or the federal government's interest, to ensure that the workforce is populous, is as healthy as it could possibly be. Right? I don't believe I need to weaponize mental health in this capacity. I would rather have a society that does a better job funneling people into the resources they need, right? And then allow those resources well earlier on in life to make the determination than having to go see some board of individuals in order to determine you should get a gun or not. No, I don't want to weaponize mental health to this extent. And I do want to, and I think that everybody should see a psychologist or a therapist, period. And it doesn't need to be on the basis of you holding a gun.
So I dug into the mental illness thing a bit by looking into a couple studies. I found a study that said 4% of gun crime was from mentally ill. And I looked into that study, and the first thing that popped out at me was it said that only 2% of the population is mentally ill. So I looked at the study that citation was for, and they only characterize mental illness as people who had psychopathy or very, very dangerous mood swings, basically. And that almost certainly doesn't encompass all of the specific mental illnesses that might be dangerous to have guns with. So again, like the point I made very early on is that the problem with a lot of these studies is they're really poor.
Yes.
And you can almost never make very good claims based off of these because they're not rigorous.
They're not, and that's the reason why I specifically made sure everybody looked into it, because I was also skeptical of the data and not having enough time to really dive deep into that specific number. But I do believe personally, right, that the percent of individuals who are mentally ill to the point where they should be prohibited owners of gun owners, I think overall is fairly low. I think that a lot of these mass shooters, I think that, for example, the Buffalo shooter, I think he was just indoctrinated. I think he was just a piece of shit, right?
Okay, but fairly low is the term you just used, bro.
Oh, the amount of mentally ill people, yeah, fairly low. I think it's very low.
Fairly low. So can we not do something?
No, again, I'm not interested.
Wait.
This is a level of paranoia. Again, but Hoxie biologists, like I need better numbers, because to my understanding,
I'm saying
it's still a single-digit percentage of individuals.
5%. If you can go from 10% to 5%, isn't that good?
I am not trying to weaponize mental health and lead to this level of restriction to gun ownership, because you guys are hyperly paranoid off of a single-digit percentage of individuals.
The question isn't decreasing crime; it's what freedoms you're giving up to get that.
And especially considering the host of other policies I'm okay with to help us get to reducing the amount of gun deaths in America. Because I think what's going on here is like you just want to stop it all out full blown. And I do understand that the fundamental right to gun ownership is a freedom, and it does come with trade-offs. It isn't just an ultimate.
Dead kids.
Yes. I'm not going to beat around the bush.
There you go.
And I would like to reduce those deaths.
Your dead kids are a trade-off. I want every American to be able to think about that, right? When they're putting their child into the grave, when they are going to the morgue, right, and have identified them, because some of them were so mangled by the bullets that they couldn't. Hold on one second. They couldn't identify them, so they had to have parents come in and give DNA to identify their children. When they're doing that and they put whatever remains they can find within the casket, I want them to all think, right, this is for freedom.
Yeah, this doesn't affect me not one bit. Like maybe
I know it's not you, but I'm talking about everyone else.
The beauty of it is the emotional people who this would resonate with already feel the same way.
You should have children,
and straight up. No, the whole point is no. I'm not going to give up this freedom all out completely.
Not
because in order to stop exactly what you guys are speaking of, you guys just want to ban all guns.
I don't. That's not literally. Hold on.
You are definitely the paranoid one.
Yeah.
No, because again, we went down the list of proposals.
Literally been as reasonable as can be. I've been as reasonable as can be, right? But then you slippery every time we're literally agreeing, and then you slippery slope. Well, I don't want to really agree with you because I know in the end what you want to do is get rid of them all, right? So you slippery slope it right down when I'm literally like, hey, let's talk about this specific policy and what the implications of that policy can be, and let's see if there's a way that we can make this work, right? And then you're like, oh no, but you're gonna take it away all the way, so it's pointless.
You can't deny that was a massive appeal to emotion. What you just did, though.
No, yeah, it was appeal to emotion.
Nothing
yes,
to
exactly.
do with any
hold on, excuse me. It was obviously an appeal to emotion. Obviously, yes. That's what I'm talking about. But hold on, I just did 2.5 hours of discussing the policies. Yes, the policies, and then he brought up the sacrifices. So I addressed the sacrifices, obviously, and I have no fucking problem with appeal emotions, none whatsoever. But in any case, I already hit the policies, right? I've been going down them, and then what you just ignored is me reiterating the policies and saying, "Here, we're trying to find common ground," and then you trying to a slippery slope argument. That's what I'm talking about.
No, because you're not going to be satisfied until every single kid is saved, and I'm telling you,
you just did it again. You did it again. I didn't say that.
I don't think I've made a slippery slope argument.
I didn't say that.
No,
I don't think he's talking about you.
He's talking about
B-more. I'm talking to you.
He's talking about B-more. He's talking about B-more.
Yeah. So again, like, no. If you want to give me another proposal, I've already told you my reasons why I do not support putting weaponizing.
Okay, so you're not going to slippery slope it again? Maybe. All right, that's fine.
No,
okay.
I mean, again, if your perpetual goal is to stop all death,
again, did I say that?
That's the whole point of your emotional appeal. It's like the children that are going to be put in even if it's trying to
be more nice try. I'm too good at this. I'm too good at this to get distracted by that, right? So you can keep trying the slippery slope. You keep trying to avoid the arguments. That's okay. I'll drag you right back. I will drag you right back. Any fucking time. I won't let you do it. I'm too good at this. I won't get distracted. I've been doing this too long. I won't get distrted. So we can try it again. So, what? Okay. So when I ask you about this, the topic of having a medical examination, right? You rather than dealing it directly, it's like, oh, this is a fundamental right? Rather than actually like saying, oh, this is are all the reasons why this policy would not work, right? Dealing with the policy itself, it's a thought terminating cliche.
Well, I already told you.
Okay,
I already told you how small of a percentage it is of individuals that would actually.
You don't know, but then you said we don't know, right? And the numbers you're basing
I believe the number is very low. Okay, and the numbers so far, even though the studies are not conducted perfectly, the same as studies. Anti-gunners use shit studies all the damn time.
Okay,
at least I'm willing.
I didn't ask for that study.
At least what I'm saying is, I think we need more research on this issue. But so far,
let's do that.
So far, the information is indicating so far that it's a single-digit percentage.
No,
right? If we do more research,
we don't have because it's bad information.
Yeah, it's bad information. Why are we working for bad information? I agree. Let's not work on bad information.
Yeah. No,
so, I mean, okay, means 1 out of every 100 kids die.
The Michigan Psychological Association, a few other organizations. Again, there's enough of them pointing towards that. There's a single.
Are the same studies? Are they pointing to the exact same
study? They're pointing at their own different metrics, their own different studies.
Okay, what are those metrics? Then let's look at those.
God damn it.
Yeah, shit! If you want to break down each one, let's.
We can actually do that if you want. Like you're tossing out the study.
Can you link
them?
Then
let's do it.
But can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Smooth.
So be more. Instead of saying. I think everyone on this panel, I think it's being disingenuous to the intelligence level that everyone here rationally knows that they're not going to be able to prevent all crime. Like, we're not going to be able to do it. We're not going to stop all shootings. I think everyone here is just like, what can we do to get this down?
That's what I've been doing
exactly
this entire time.
Stop glorifying the shooters. That's one way.
That's another way. And again,
have the media place a blanket laws to curtail the media from outing the shooter's name and the shooter's face by making them famous, and
We
then
do it here.
making them infamous.
I disagree with this. Yeah, so here's when I say that I use them on my Twitter. I use the
let's not make it direct. But why? But we know about copycats. Glorifying them does lead to more shootings.
That's not addressing my question. You guys just went immediately just off. That it's not what I was. Anyways.
Oh, so what's your point? Let me hear you out.
So listen. What I'm saying here is, when he asked for, when we asked for, can we do this, like this additional step, right? And it would reduce by any level of percent. To then turn around and say, hey, that's going to lead to confiscation of all guns. We're not advocating for confiscation of all guns. We're just saying, hey, if we do this additional thing here, would it be helpful?
I'm saying that the percentage of individuals that would stop is so minuscule in comparison to how big of an infringement it is. That's the point, and I'm not dodging anything here.
Net positive. If it ends up being a net positive,
I don't believe infringing on a right excessively is a net positive. That's the key, right?
Is that not okay?
No, I don't believe it's a net positive. That's the point. I believe it's too small of a percentage of individuals. How burdensome you make acquiring a gun, it isn't worth it.
It should be a burden.
I think. Yeah, I know you. Like, that's the point.
Awful.
Exactly. That's the point. See, Smooth. This is the point. They want gun acquisition, the process of acquiring a gun, to be absolutely horrendous, extremely tedious, extremely difficult. And then if there's another shooting, once again, we got to have legislative reaction. We got to do more. I'm saying there's more. I have more policy proposals. I would like to move on to other ones. I've already told you why I do not support this one in specific. I've already said that mental health is already important, that we should have universal healthcare, free healthcare for everybody. But you guys want to paywall. You want to weaponize mental health specifically for the access of a gun. I want everybody to see a psychologist.
I'm not even. So listen.
That's my point,
bro. So listen.
I'm not dodging shit right now.
I didn't say you dodged anything. So listen. So let's say instead of having, you have a driver's license, right?
Okay.
Right, to drive. To literally say everybody, hey, you have to attend this course to get a gun. Is that not unreasonable?
Okay. First off, this is the first time you guys proposing this, right? And let me answer this. When you get your driver's license, you're able to use it in every state, right?
Yes, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay. If I get my gun license, can I use it in every state?
Yes, I hope.
But it's a degree.
Answer my question.
No. So you're saying if you get that particular gun license, that gun license literally means you know how to operate a firearm. That's what it would mean.
And it lets you buy a gun.
But hold on.
You know how
the driver's license. The driver's license is codified in law federally, such that you have a driver's license in one state, you're allowed to drive in any
If we're
state.
saying, we're going to say the gun license, the quote unquote gun license, is going to operate the same as a driver's license.
Driver's license, yes.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, let me address this directly.
It seems reasonable.
Right now, currently in federal law, you're not allowed to buy a gun in a state you don't reside in. That's currently law. That's the next federal background check system, right?
True.
Good.
So same, and then that's a good law. Whatever, I don't really care, right? I'm looking for future policy now, right? If you're going to subject me to a federal mental health evaluation, a federal permitting system, right? Then I want it to be federally acknowledged. If we can accept that,
I could do that.
Yeah.
Now, what if we had a federal minimum standard, right? A federal minimum standard for getting a gun license, and then beyond that, the states could do more if they wanted to. But if they at least had a federal minimum standard for this is what needs to be done. This is the hoops that you need to clear, and then if people want to do more, that's great. If not.
The only federal
since you achieve the federal minimum, you can use it all around the country, right? You could use your gun license everywhere.
The only federal minimum standard to owning to legally owning a firearm is you should be 21 or older, and that's it. Honestly,
yeah, so
and you should be able to, like, obviously I think the gun safety and training class is a good example of what you can do before you get a license, and you just once you get your license, if you're over 21, you can legally own a firearm, like in any state.
You want
And
to
I think
pass?
making the class
What do you-
hard to pass would be good too,
Can I
because
ask-
firearm safety classes are way too ridiculously easy.
Can I ask a
Well,
simple thing? Like,
so
here,
Some are.
can
I've been
we
to a
agree?
few.
Can
Some
we
are
agree
really easy.
that when you buy a gun, you take that gun to a local, like you register it, and they get the exact signature of that gun, right? So they know if that gun kills Jimmy, they can see the shell, they can see how it all went through. They know that's the gun.
It doesn't work.
right?
It doesn't work
No,
effectively.
that's-
'Cause metal on metal
No?
contact, copper on metal contact, and also lead on metal contact.
So
Eventually,
that's just like weird, like TV shows. And
no,
shit?
no. What happens is if you shoot someone and the gun's recovered rapidly or soon
Uh-huh.
enough, yes. But if you
Okay.
run enough rounds to a gun, you can
Oh, it
cause the
changes
wearing to
it.
change.
You're right. It changes it over time. Yeah, absolutely. I get you.
You can
bro.
also have
So we should
no
put our
worries.
hands in our pockets and do nothing.
So I
yeah,
have
you
a
keep saying
No,
that, but
no.
Prime
But
already
why
went through
not?
some
Why not
policies,
have
and
a
I supported those
signature?
policies.
Why not go ahead and start with
let's-
that
let's-
signature?
Okay, let's
Why not?
walk back.
No,
Let's
but
walk
here's the
back.
problem. Smooth, you see what's happening, right? When I don't agree with a specific policy, it turns into just put your hands in your pocket. We can't do anything. I've
No,
already
I
spoken
was
to Prime about
asking
safe
about it, bro.
requirements. I've
Shut
already
up.
spoken
I was
about
just asking.
a federal permitting system. I didn't even completely rule it out, but my problem is if it's going to be a federal background check system and it's federally stringent and it's federally strict, then I want it respected in all states. If not, then I
Of
would
course.
rather just
course.
Yeah,
defer
so
to the
listen.
state
The
solution.
federal government isn't
So
going to do
here's what-
any of
here's
this.
what would
States
happen.
aren't
Here's
going to
what-
do any of this. It's just
Oh,
going to
so-
keep
No,
happening.
no. So listen.
Whatever.
So,
If you want to be a defeatist, there's some policy I like,
so
and we should do
listen.
something.
I have a
federally,
question.
right? If you had the gun license, it would have to be federal. It would have to be respected everywhere, just like your driver's license.
If it's
And
going
you
to
would
be
have
as
to- you would
strict
have-
as you have to see a board of psychologists, absolutely.
Say what?
I have a question relating
I
to what
agree.
was brought up earlier.
No,
I
I
agree
said
with
if
you,
it-
Bmar.
Yeah, but if I conceal carry my gun in California, they need to shut the fuck up about it.
Okay,
Yeah, and
well,
that's
not-
That's
a
another
different-
story,
that's a
right,
different
Prime? That's
level
my
of license.
issue.
That
I'm
is
willing to
another
give you what
story.
you want.
Whether
Yeah, but that's the problem.
Be more.
Compromises. I'm willing to give you what you want. Let me get something for it.
So listen, driver's license, right? They have different levels. It'd be the same way federally with carrying firearms concealed and all that other stuff. You would have to go through the different levels. You would
Or
have
a
different levels of license.
CDL, right? Yes.
It'd be the same. It'd be the same way. It'd be the same way.
If the criteria
It would
is
be all
clear,
50 states and
if the cl- if the-
territories,
yeah.
you'd be good. It'd
I
be
don't
one
think
stop
I don't
shop.
think people support that. I don't think people support. I
I
go see
like
the
you.
board.
I think that's good.
I don't think people like again. It's like Dr. K. I don't know Prime supports the idea of I go see the board of psychologists. I fucking get my fucking dental records and show 'em my
Didn't
penis.
say
link.
that.
I get a fucking
I'm not talking about a psychologist or anything. That take the psychology guy.
No.
Give
What
to the
I'm saying?
side.
No. Listen to me. The reason why I bring that up is because this tends to be a hard stop, right? People want individuals, not everybody, but Prime and I think Dr. K want you to see a psychologist before you buy a gun.
Bmore's
that's
right
what they're
on this,
saying.
dude.
Oh.
Yes. God
So
damn
I have
it,
a question
Bmore.
about
I
the
fucking hate it
filing
when you're
off
right.
of the serial numbers on the guns. Why is it? This might be the case, but if this is the case, I don't understand why this is even possible. Why is it that the sellers don't have to report who they sold the gun to? Because if they report who they sold the gun to, then filing off the serial number wouldn't even matter. It would be really easy to tell that someone is missing a bunch of guns because they're selling them after filing off the serial numbers, right?
I don't know if the majority of these straw purchases or the guns that hit the streets are like bulk purchases. The ATF is currently investigating this, and there's been
But
a
like
handful.
that should be something that they absolutely have to, like the buyer should have to report it to the government, so that the serial number even isn't even as necessary to be present on the gun at all times.
So when you buy a gun from an FFL, so like a federal license, like a actual gun store, on the 4473 that I spoke of earlier, you do report the make and model and serial number on that document, and that's kept on record for 20 years. So I don't know what to tell you, right? I personally, if you show me it, I'm more than, again, another situation where if the information's presented, I would like to see it, but I personally don't have evidence of like an individual buying mass amount of guns and then like federally and legally and at a gun store and then pushing them into key areas, right? To my current knowledge, the fact that we have 400 million guns in circulation in itself is the reason why guns are in the wrong hand in general.
Yeah, but I do think that if filing off serial numbers is something that is a problem that is making it harder to regulate, I think the majority of those problems would probably be centralized with specific people. They may not be the entire source of that, but I think that it's equally as absurd to expect that each one of those cases of a file of a serial code getting filed off isn't one person and done, and then they'll never do that again.
ATF, they're called tracebacks.
It's a technicality.
The ATF does conduct thousands of tracebacks each year. They do, and I don't know what to tell you. Like, it is something that a government does.
You know what? If you're ever afraid of somebody breaking into your house, get a dog.
Get a dog. Get a
Again. Okay, so listen. Your dog cannot stop everything. Okay, it is a dog.
I could kill any dog.
Right, but it will alert you. It will alert you. It will always tell you. It will always be ahead of you.
Will not save you when you're in an apartment building and you're on the 10th floor. There's no fire escape, and the person coming through the door is ready to kill you.
What the fuck, dude? What are you? What?
I'm telling you. I'm saying to you, if the person coming through the door, you're somebody that's living in an apartment building, and you're not someone on the first or second floor where you can exit out the window, you're like you're safely. You're either going to kill yourself from jumping out the window, or you're going to have to fight off your attacker.
So you need a gun.
Would you rather have a gun or not have a gun? Because you don't know.
No, so you need a gun because you don't know how to kill a dog, because you're afraid you can't kill a dog.
What the fuck?
I'm not saying I'm afraid I can't kill a dog. I'm telling you,
dogs
the person
will
that's
fuck
coming through
people
the
up.
door will kill your dog and you. No problem.
What if you ain't got the little lead bees? What if
I'm sorry. This is a bit of a distraction. Radif didn't get a chance to speak. Radif has been here. He's been sitting here, and he hasn't actually got a chance to speak. And then I think maybe someone else. Oh no, that's a Zig Mover. I didn't recognize your avatar. Radif, please.
Well, it just depends on what your final goal is, right? Do you want to minimize, gun violence with kids, or just gun violence in general?
You sound really low. You sound extremely low. Get closer to your mic, please.
Hold on, can you not hear me?
I can hear you, but it's slow.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very barely. Yeah.
Okay.
Abolition, good attack, dog.
Yeah.
You covered all the bases.
It's long.
And damn, your puppy grew fast as hell.
Hold on. How does that hear?
Oh, much better. Please, Radif, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh my God, what did you guys hear? I'm sorry.
Right there, that little pig.
All right.
That pit doesn't trust.
Anyways, it just depends on what you want to fix. Do you want to fix gun violence in schools or gun violence in general, right?
Right.
In general. We're talking about in general.
Right. So as far as fixing gun violence in schools, a huge part of that is making our police not complete cowards, right? Yes. We have to change police conduct. And this is a really hard conversation to have, to call our law enforcement complete cowards, but it's been school shooting after school shooting that they get to the scene in around 2 minutes, and they take around hours to get there. In Columbine, the school shooters killed themselves, and they took 2 hours and 30 minutes, causing some of the kids to have severe blood loss, and just
I wish I could
lost
fight
some
this,
of them.
but it's
Exactly.
And what
The problem is it repeats every time. So if you want to minimize the amount of casualties in school shootings,
but we might have gotten shot.
Zin, let him finish. He's been waiting a very long time. Please.
Our police conduct is they are prioritizing, in short, getting home, getting safe, right? That's why they unload magazines on people that they feel wary of, and that's why you have to have your hands on the dashboard, right? Because they're prioritizing their safety. They're not protecting and serving, right? That's what they're taught. Now, if you want to prioritize gun violence, just overall, you're going to have to minimize circulation of guns in the wrong hands. And how you do this is, well, you're going to have your mental evaluations. The fact that we're guilt tripping people into mental health system is not a good way to go. Mental health should be more regularized. I mean, I feel like
that's my point. That's the point I'm trying to make, though. I'm not sure if we're making the same point, but I don't feel like putting weaponizing mental health for the sake of this gun ownership. I want people to get regular help. Period.
Radif?
and for free.
I just want there to be a DMV for guns, like
And
literally the same thing.
Something else to add is that you will have to have a federal standard that, each state could be a little bit more stringent based on certain hunting laws and whatnot, but you're going to have to set up a federal standard where you have to both prove that you are mentally capable of using the weapon at the time. I think you will actually have to constantly have like some kind of a mental evaluation. I don't think it has to be too stringent, but it has to be stringent enough where we don't hear about, insane kids shooting up Starbucks, every freaking weekend. Because I was just the other day, I was trying to think of the shooting that happened in Michigan, and I couldn't even recall which one. I mean, it's happened that many times just this year. If that is not the saddest thing ever. And with multiple of those kids, they go to Indiana, and Indiana's renowned for their like no gun laws, essentially. And they just go to a show and they just buy those. They buy the guns. They don't get ID'd. They don't get. A lot of them are underage buying. People just don't care. The regulation of guns is less stringent than alcohol or vapes. In some states, it's harder to get a hand on a vape than it is a gun.
That shouldn't be possible. I don't think anybody agrees that should be possible.
Exactly.
But it is.
I mean,
it shouldn't be.
Again, my fundamental issue with this whole DMV idea is, okay, I go to the DMV, I pay my fucking registration, and I get to take my car to any state I want. I drove across America literally like a year and a half ago. Okay, I would like the same ass privileges when it comes to a gun. Set the fucking criteria. I would love to hear it, right? I'm not going to say I'm going to automatically agree with it, but I love to hear the criteria. But once I meet this criteria, I need you to shut the fuck up. And that's my overall point.
And when you brought up like the need to renew to keep the gun, I would also add that to driving, because too many maniacs are on the road that just forget how to drive safely.
Yeah, I think there's like
wait, you guys don't have to renew your license?
No.
It takes forever to renew a license. First, I think California licenses are good for over 10 years also.
Yeah, there's people who are like 70 years old who have never taken the driver's test more than once in their life.
Five,
okay. But that's still a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with somebody having a gun license for 5 years. That's fine.
Okay, as long as I can take it every
the government should not be taxing you out the ass to continue to pay them. Like, that's ridiculous.
I mean, the taxes are going to go up.
I can't support that.
The taxes are going to go up. That is the fundamental. Taxes do go up, right? Like, and it's just kind of the way it goes, right? Now, how would it be prohibitory? Who knows, right?
What,
again,
to get an evaluation or to?
Oh no, the evaluations better be free.
Oh no, they should be. I would agree.
Yeah.
They should absolutely be free. Just like the states, or at least the states should be heavily subsidized at the very least.
But here's the beauty of it, right? If California doesn't want to recognize my federal gun permit, right, then Republican states shouldn't have to recognize it either. And what that could also mean is, if California doesn't want to allow me to conceal carry because they don't recognize the permit, then Texas should be able to continue to sell guns because they don't need to respect the permit. Either every state respects the permit, or each state can choose to disrespect it in the ways they choose to.
So look, we've already addressed this.
Every state would have to.
Yeah, we've already addressed this. We have a federal minimum. A federal minimum, right? And then if the states wanted to do more, then they can. If not, then that's fine. So
get too excited.
That's literally the most. I don't know how I can get even more reasonable than that.
Yeah,
like that's
no, because we don't know the criteria.
Thing is set,
like, do you guys understand what I mean by the criteria? Like, what are you going to make these people do to get this permit? Those are the things I would like to know.
Sure. So, federal background check, right? So, like, the blanket federal background check for all guns, for all gun purchases. Would you agree?
Oh, that's already a thing. Continue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's already a thing, though.
Such a vague talking point, because our background system right now is so out of date that felons can buy guns and they won't even trip the alarm.
You know why? Because the state governments are not coughing up the information properly. We should, and I agree, I think everybody here can agree, that if states do not give the information up to the federal government properly, then someone should get in trouble.
Great. So a minimum of a training, right? So it's like every state has to have a training regime for these, and you have to hit these points, right? And you
The
have
training
to
has to be universal and free, but yes.
free, yes, but yes, free.
Same
Great.
in every state.
I agree. This is the federal minimum, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
has to follow it, and everyone has to provide it, and the federal government helps states pay for that, right? So I'm good there, right? Great.
Okay.
So we get training. We have a waiting period if necessary, like for like a new weapon. A waiting period in place, right? So let's say
The reason why there's no point of a waiting period is because this permit's going to take months to get.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying no.
I was gonna say the wait.
I'm saying to get a new gun. You have the permit.
Point. There's no point. Again,
no.
The psychiatric evaluation, your appointment's probably going to be a week out.
No.
Your background check is probably going to take 2 days.
You're not listening to me. No, sorry. Maybe I'm not being clear, right? I mean, your second gun.
Again, to me, it's just dumb. Like,
so,
give me the permit and then leave me alone.
The Prime. If we end up treating this like a driver's license, we cannot have a wait on the gun outside of you waiting for your permit, because that would mean we would have to start putting a weight on cars. Like,
no, we don't have to.
No. When I proposed this, when I made this proposal, I'm saying this would
proposal.
be the same. So that means
I'm saying my proposal is different from yours.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, the waiting period's dumb.
Yeah.
So Smooth, I'm with you.
Okay. Well, no.
Again, you got to remember the waiting period is the psychologist is going to take multiple days to come to a decision. The permit itself is not going to come in the mail that fast.
No.
Like the background check is going to take multiple days.
Had nothing to do with the psychologist. It was just.
No, that is the waiting period. You can't even acquire a gun till then. So that is the waiting period. I'm not looking for more.
You're not listening. I said like your second gun. So you're going for another gun.
Yeah.
You've already been evaluated, but then still you have to have a waiting period for getting that out of the gun, right? People, it could be any number of reasons why you want to get that gun. Whatever it may be, wait a few days before then, in case the reasons that you're doing that are bad, right? Or
you already have a gun.
Or negligent.
This is when things always end up being excessive just for the sport of it. It's like in search of a problem.
Do they already have a gun? Do they already have a gun though?
Yeah,
it's the second gun. Yes, I know. It's the second gun. Why are they buying the second gun, right? Yes. Like if they were buying that second gun for a different reason, right? If they were in some sort of psychological state, then I want them to have that waiting period, right? Like that's why.
I get it. I know you want
it. Maybe they don't. If they don't have access to the gun, then they've already committed the crime that I'm talking about, right? So like whatever. But in case that they might be using this to commit a crime, the second gun, right? Then we have a waiting period any which way. So waiting period between all gun purchases.
Already said no. Like this is.
Yeah, well, I know you said no, but yeah, sure.
I would say no as well, just because like, okay, so what if you're about to inherit a gun too? Like it's not a gun purchase, but do you still have to go through a waiting process? Do you still have to go through a psychological evaluation
if
to
you're going to inherit a gun? I don't know,
because I've never thought of that actually.
Because like
the only gun I have was inherited, and I didn't do anything to get that.
Yeah, like see, like this is my problem with the driver's license, because it's like you can inherit a car and then not have a driver's license and just never use it, but you shouldn't, according to the government, be inheriting a gun without
you would
like
have to have a gun license to operate that. You'd have to have a gun license.
You can there's states where you could just inherit it and it's yours,
and that shouldn't be
actually have to tell the government. No, I think that should be legal, because honestly,
so that's our fundamental disagreement.
Yeah, it's a fundamental disagreement. Like it's been in your family for however long, like to be a full extent of another person, and no one's committed a crime with it. You can assume that that person has trained you properly with the firearm.
No, you can't assume that. How can you assume that?
No,
how can you assume that?
Uncle I've never met.
Hey, yeah. Like I've got this fishing rod.
Why is your random uncle that you've never met signing you a gun to their will? That doesn't make sense, right? Like somebody you know.
Have you ever seen Italian families?
Why are people slaughtering kids? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, who the fuck cares? Like, no, you absolutely. If you run, if you're talking about the waiting period for getting that gun, I don't see the point there.
My problem is
I don't see how it's workable. I'm saying that to operate that, like if you operate that gun without the license, then we have a problem. You have to get your license to actually operate the gun.
So here's the problem. You have this constitutional right, and you want to say criteria for a fundamental right. Okay, so be it. And then I say, Once the government has vetted you, the government has determined that you are a lawful owner and that you are trained properly to own guns. At that point, I am done. I am done with the conversation.
Yeah,
Give the gun up.
You can keep saying the
Because
same
you
thing.
already
We got
vetted
it.
them. You already went through the psychological evaluations. You've already had the background check. You probably fucking all these other things.
Unless we have reason that they are mentally compromised afterwards, right?
No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about.
But you're saying you're done. But like I'm saying, there would be a step afterwards. If we had a reason and they got reevaluated.
What I'm saying is reevaluations considered, evaluations considered. If I buy a fucking AR-15, I want to throw a suppressor on that, I'm gonna buy a fucking suppressor. I want to buy a Glock tomorrow,
Great.
I'm gonna buy the damn Glock.
I agree.
You've already determined that I'm safe. You've already determined that I'm a lawful user. I don't want to hear this. Well, you gotta wait. And I also don't want to hear I can't become my gun
unlawful
state to state.
users at any point in time, right? Like everyone is a lawful citizen until they become an unlawful citizen, correct?
I want to just use my car. It doesn't matter. I should be able to throw nitro in it.
Everyone is a lawful citizen until you become unlawful.
Oh no, but the whole point is that you're saying this is a permit, it's a federal permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you pass all the checks and you stay lawful, right?
Yeah.
You don't break any laws in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You don't beat your damn wife, that's including breaking a law. You don't you don't have a new mental illness, so on. If all these little dream situations, if the stars align, all the criteria you set forth is now aligned, I want to buy my shit and take it anywhere I want to take it.
Okay, I agree. Look, this is the point of the one we're designing right now, for exactly that. Yeah, like that you could take it anywhere. And that
if states don't want to acknowledge it, like for example, if I can't conceal carry in a state, then I'm just as an example, just putting it out there. Then if a state doesn't want to use this permitting system to sell guns, they should have the right to. And I'm not echoing on my screen. That is Zen.
Zen, for fuck's sakes, Zen, mute yourself.
I'm just gonna move him. I'll DM him.
You do that.
I do want to bring up a devil's advocate angle from the guy that talked about training police to be less cowardly. I do think that is important, but the question is, how do you even do that? Because I mean, I've had jobs where I am fired if I pick up something over 50 pounds, even though I am a man very able to pick up something more than 50 pounds. I imagine a lot of the hesitation from cops isn't just cowardice, but is often fueled by insurance policies within their departments. Like there's probably a huge umbrella like preventing them from actually acting.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there are plenty of cops that would, but can't.
One thing I will.
Early 2000s, it's been law and on the books for them to go in, like it's been federally to
Actually,
go in.
It's the exact opposite. The Supreme Court ruled that they are allowed to not engage if they do.
And the name of that case is called Town of Castle Rock v. Gonzalez. For anybody.
Yeah, I actually didn't know the name of the case. Thank you.
Yeah. See, I think cops should be treated more like soldiers in the sense that if everyone is thinking that the American culture is like a battleground, then they should be just as willing and ready to jump into that danger as soldiers are when they're at war.
It's like rules of escalation, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think I don't know if I'm completely positive, but I think the U.S. military actually has like better rates with Afghanistani citizens than the U.S. police do with U.S. citizens, which is just messed up. Just mad funny.
We're gonna have to change the system because right now, cops are in positions where they're the only ones allowed to conceal carry in certain states, in certain locations, right? Including schools and so on. If you're the only person allowed to use a gun in these areas, then you better fucking use it. I'm sorry, you better fucking use it. You're telling me I can't have a gun. You're telling me I can't carry here. Okay, then. So when the time comes, you better fucking use yours. You are paid for emergency response.
Well,
if you can't do that, I would like to hire someone who can.
Absolutely. On the topic of the Buffalo Massacre, just a week prior, the first person to even shoot a shot, despite the guy with the heavy vest, was the security guard, right? The security guard who was paid there, who was the armed guard. Well, he attempted to stop the shooter, right? Because that's his job. Whereas the police were waiting outside, just waiting. How long did they even wait for that? They waited a long time for that one too. It's
long enough to come out and give up.
Exactly. They essentially just wait them out. They're having these sieges These aren't.
It
sieges,
seems like their
right?
goal more is to prevent other people from going in.
No, their
That
goal is
seems
to
like the
keep
main thing they're
themselves
doing.
safe. It's to
Yeah.
keep themselves
Well,
safe.
I would argue they should go in and not keep themselves safe, but it
they
seems like
ask
the
us-
only thing they do is keep other people from jumping
Well,
into the school to add more to it.
They ask us, right, for these high APC equipment, right? They want armored personnel carriers. They want these high caliber shields, right?
And they don't use them.
And guess what?
They do use them.
They still
inappropriately.
they use them. They use them for protest to mow down.
Yes,
protesters.
exactly, inappropriately.
And then when the time is needed, right? Because these shooters don't have tanks. They don't have fucking Abram tanks. But when the time is needed, guess where the SWAT is? They're sitting outside, right? They're sitting outside. They're surrounding the area. They're pulling their own kids out of the school, and then they're staying out of the school, right? That's what they do.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Jan 6. Like a BLM protest outside of the Capitol Hall, they had cops posted up with guns outside the Capitol steps. Jan 6, mad chill. It's beautiful. Same protests on the streets of Phoenix. They pull out all the big toys when it's the BLM protest. But I highly doubt they will do the same. I highly doubt they'll do that for a mass shooting.
I have wondered.
I think cops are just flat out cowards. And I served in the military. I went downrange. I know how it is. I'm gonna let you know. I couldn't run away. I simply was not allowed to run away. And I also was not allowed to shoot because I was told I could not shoot. So I don't want to hear it from cops. If you're scared to do your damn job, then it's okay. This is America, right? You find a new job.
That's your fucking job, right? That your
It's
job
fine.
is
It's
being
not a
the
big
line
deal.
of fire. You are a soldier of the state essentially, right? And your job is to protect and serve, and not to protect your own ass.
I support a federal
wondered
jobs
how
program.
many
I will
of
help
those
you find a
tanks-
better job. I'll help you find a different job. I will help you because I believe in a federal job program. But guess what? Being a cop ain't it for you.
I have wondered
bitch.
how many of
You
those
very clear
tanks
about
have
that.
ever even been put in the kind of harm's way that they've ever even been shot out realistically. Like, I wonder what percentage of them have actually been put in real danger, because the whole point of them is to stand in danger to prevent other deaths, but I doubt they're ever even used in that way.
Well, if you ever take the city of
it's
Houston,
supposed
for
to
example,
safely-
right? Like you get these really shiny MRAPs that have been like in the state, or in the city's police department's possession for almost a dozen years at this point, and they're still shiny, and it's because they never get put into an environment where they're actually needed like that.
Yeah. So, go ahead. You go first.
What I was about to say is, if you want to see a good example, with like gun ownership and cowardice cops, right? Why there's not as many mass shootings in Russia, right? Is because police usually go head first and die, right?
Oh,
That's
no
what they usually
hostages.
do.
They don't give a fuck about a hostage. They will blast you.
My point being is why there's less school shootings is because cops are immediately engaged with the target. They don't wait outside for 2+ hours, right?
So
if you want to minimize
cannot be the
mass
reason
death-
why there's less mass shooting. That literally cannot be the reason.
No. If you look it up, gun ownership in Russia is, first of all, it's not even regulated, right? Owning a gun in Russia is it's like owning a pencil, right? You might as well not even tell anybody you own it, right?
Okay, so I'm sorry. We need numbers. Are you what is the gun ownership rate in Russia? That's how you look at these things. So if there's less guns in Russia, then that would make a difference, certainly, right? If you look at it per capita as well, whatever you like, but we need to look at that metric before we can draw that conclusion that it's less mass shootings. If a mass shooter is being irrational, right, and is not doing it, if they aren't doing it for some ideological reason, they're just like, hey, I feel like today I'm going to murder some kids. Well, then they're not going to give a shit if the cops come in. In fact, they will want the cops to come in because they are probably looking to die. So, again, you're going to have to give me some numbers here.
Didn't they go through mass disarmament during the Soviet Union?
Russia's gone through mass disarmament several times. But
Yeah.
But as of late,
so they've built back up to everyone having more guns than they do in America.
The thing is it's not even really tracked, because you really can't track where that goes. I mean,
so my understanding is that if you could afford the firearm in the first place, then you don't have to worry about being tracked, because you could just pay off whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's
but-
like poor people don't get firearms unless somebody gives it to them.
Yeah, so if that's the case, again, we'll still need numbers to understand this. Like, what is the rate of gun ownership?
Okay.
Like, it sounds like you're coming out of this.
What I
You're
said.
putting us. Okay.
Prime
right.
has to be the basher of bad news. Gosh,
Sorry.
I'm just trying to have
I just don't know
fun.
shit about Russia.
I'm just trying to have fun here, and Prime is just raining on my
I
parade.
look at the U.S. numbers.
So I found the numbers, but I don't know the percentage in Russia. In Russia, it says by the turn of April 2017, there were estimated 4.5 million Russians in legal possession of approximately 7.3 million weapons.
You see the legal term.
It also says that they've been increasing the possession laws.
Yeah, because one guy can own like 50 guns, so he might just be the crazy, wearing the Adidas tracksuit with a Kalashnikov. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you'd find a similar distribution like for the states in here that like a small amount of people own the vast majority of guns, right? Most people only have 1 or 2 guns, and then other people own a lot. But which is yeah. So we have to take a look to understand exactly what the reasons are for Anyway, so I really enjoyed your conversation though about the cowardice of the police. I think it's very important, right? When we're talking about the shit that happened in Texas, and how Biden is not actually dealing with that. It's just like, oh yeah, rah the police. The police straight up lied about what they've done, about like the sequence of events, right? If they didn't lie, if it was actually an honest to God mistake, well, one way or the other, we need an investigation. It should be an investigation as to why the police didn't go in. It should be an investigation why parents were sitting outside and hearing gunshots in the school, and the police were literally are trying to arresting parents who are causing too much trouble outside rather than going inside. Like that should be an investigation.
It's legal. It's legal. So what the federal government should do, right, is there's current federal funding being given to police forces, especially in rural areas. If police officers are demonstrated to be cowards, you should just take the federal funding away and tell them you can have it back when you guys are less bitches. And
that might increase crime there, though. I mean, this is why I brought up, can we think of ways to decrease the cowardice? Because that sounds really dangerous, actually.
Though, right? The only way our federal government really has control over state police officers is through power of the purse. Which if you wanted to, you could do it the other way around, where you increase the coffers of money and only give it to police departments that are not bitches.
But we can make federal laws that prevent certain policing policies from being enacted.
Wait,
why not necessarily? I mean, we can make a federal law that makes it so that certain, let's say we made a law that says you can't get these ridiculous tanks in any police force, because what are we going to use them on? We don't even use them anyway to protect police.
Oh, that's different. If you want to demilitarize the police, that's a separate subject.
Well, yeah, but I'm using that as an example. Federal law can be used to prevent certain policies. So if there's a policy that's making cops not go in because it means they'll lose their job, or their family won't get money because the insurance refuses to pay out if they risk their life unduly, like those policies should not be enacted. There could be federal laws preventing those policies.
Police officers are not losing their life insurance policies for charging into a situation like this. They're simply not.
I don't know if that's the main cause of that, but I do think that there are probably multiple causes besides just the cowardice of police. I do think cowardice of police is probably a big primary factor of that, but there's probably other things feeding into that we could target legally. I don't know how we could train people to be less cowardly, or how we could better market for people who aren't cowardly to take those positions. We have a hard time finding cops as it is.
I wonder if Castle Rock v. Gonzalez limits this, because so far, police officers do not have we're not forced to respond to anything, period.
Well, yeah,
I'm not sure. I think the only way the federal government could have forced this is through power of the purse. I think that is the constitutional power that the state has, the federal government has. And again, like many other discussions, fundamental rights and constitutions, people choose to ignore them. It's really hard to. It really is hard to, right? In reality, you can increase the funding to police departments and then threaten to take it away. But I believe police departments receive enough money, and it goes to show, for example, the Texas Police Department, some of their police officers were running H&K AR-15s. They cost $3,000 each. And they have PECs on them. Those cost $1,000. Then you had Trigicons on them. That cost $1,300. Some had EOTechs that cost $900. They had Vigor tactical slings, $100 each. The mounts, $100 a set. Their kits cost so much fucking money. They're not using them. I think they have enough money. You know what I mean?
I do just worry though.
The threat of removing it, I think, could spur change.
Yeah, I do just worry though that like if we use this as an example in colleges, if a college does something they shouldn't, removing federal funding makes sense. The students can find another college. A lot of students travel to go to a college anyway. But if you remove funding from a police department and that the police department needs that funding, the people living in that area don't get to just decide I'm going to move to another town where the police department wasn't defunded. So that like has much greater implications that I am worried about.
So the only my only 2 points to counter that is simply, I do not believe our federal government has the constitutional authority to levy these level of restrictions or policies on police departments outside of the power of the purse. I think our federal government, through my interpretation of rulings currently, limits this power. If my interpretation is incorrect, then I'm all for it, right? I'm all.
If it is, I wish we could change that.
Yeah, and I think we are confined at this current moment, right, to funding. Prime knows I want to rain hell on police departments. I think they're absolutely tyrannical. I believe that, for example, LAPD having full-blown gangs within their police department. I am okay with eradicating their police department and building it again from the ground up, right? No. I am down for extreme changes. I just don't believe we have the power to. But when it comes to restricting funds, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing deal, right? It can be gradual, right? You act up, you lose 3%. Yeah. You act up again, you lose 3%. Like you lose again, okay, 10%. You lose again, okay, buddy, we already tried you 4 times. You lose it all. And maybe, but overall, I don't like to pay for bullshit, right? When it comes to tax-paid services, like, we do deserve a level of customer service, right? If I'm paying into a system, I do expect certain results. And if those results are poor, I think something needs to change when it comes to why is my money being allocated towards this? Why isn't it not being allocated differently?
Yeah, I think that's way more reasonable. You won me over with that, definitely.
I mean, something to talk about is what is our end goal, right? I mean, how do we make all police departments better? Obviously, it's training is a huge part, right? You're going to have to train people that public safety actually overtakes their own personal, biases and
so safety. Me personally, right, I would tell every police department to take a look at. I understand that this is a specific state and this doesn't apply to everyone, but I would still tell every police department to look at it, right? And I would ask every state to do the same. There is this document. It's called Investigation into the City of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Police Department. Findings from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. So the Department of Human Rights of that state, it's a state entity. It's not like a college. It's not like some type of like charity or like leftist fucking coalition. It's literally just a state. Did an investigation on the police department and found extremely racist fucking numbers. Like use of force increase among black communities, searches against the black community being increased, actual police officers being more likely to injure themselves due to their excessive force on black communities and so on. I think every single state needs to conduct these type of studies, right? And then we need to set dollar goals or punitive measures if they don't reduce these numbers in X amount of years, to include the possible eradication of a police department and rebuilding it from the ground up if they don't meet their numbers when it comes to improvements. We're going to have to use metrics, right? We're going to have to use metrics, and if the metrics are not met, then heads have to be chopped off. That's how the military works that way, and so does corporate America. But for some strange reason, the police departments are excluded from every business model.
I do want to bring up an interesting difficulty that I think I'm privy to that I think a lot of other people might not be actually. I'm traditionally from Minneapolis, although I'm in Madison, Wisconsin for graduate school right now. But my aunt does a lot of the hiring for the Minneapolis Police Department. And the thing that always strikes me is whenever some of these shootings or police deaths, like when George Floyd happened, she always beats herself up because she does her best to try and weed out all of the horrible fucking people that apply to be police. But it's just so hard to spot some of these racists, since like people don't try and outwardly make these things obvious about their character. And I imagine a lot of people probably go in not necessarily being entirely prejudiced, but it getting worse and worse as they're in.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of difficulties to making this better from the police side of things that people don't realize are actually there, and that a lot of the people who are already involved are doing really, like, trying real fucking hard to not let this get worse and trying to make it better already.
I don't really believe it. I've spoken to enough just like you. I've spoken to members of law enforcement, and every single time I talk to them about addressing these issues, they always say it's bigger than us. We can't really do nothing about it. So I don't think you can. I think you can vote.
Oh, I'm not saying it's too big to fix. I'm saying that, like,
also, I would say that your family member is in a position where a person's always going to be in their best behavior, right? Because they're looking to be hired, right? And this is the reason why we need whistleblower programs, where if you can demonstrate that a police officer is racist, I think you should get a payout. I think you should get a nice, that nice little Tesla. I think maybe you should buy it for you. You were able to conclusively prove that one of your coworkers are racist. I think there should be an award for that. And that would either force people to be on their best behavior and keep their racism as covert as possible, or is going to help effectively eliminate individuals who are racist. And unfortunately, there's no ultimate solution to this.
Yeah. I just bring it up because, like, the hiring process is often used as an example for how to weed some of them out. But the problem is it's not quite that simple. I think it needs to be like a much larger thing that you need to do to attack it from many different angles.
I mean, yeah, for sure. And one of the angles I would like to do is whistleblower programs where police officers are incentivized. Yeah. And if there's any type of retribution, then the government should help them get retrained and provide for their safety, if that even includes moving them to another police department, on top of serious levels of incarceration for anybody that is proven to retaliate against this officer.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about 10, 15 years minimum.
No, I got a question. Aren't like 40% of cops like domestic abusers? Wasn't that? I don't remember what statistic.
You got to be careful with numbers, and that's why
domestic abuse statistics are actually like really, really poorly gathered too.
Oh! Don't worry, I know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, don't. I'm not
be careful. Snitched.
My boy.
Well, now we know you're part of a statistic.
Yeah. I'm a cop actually, part time.
Well, not with that here.
Yeah.
So I can pull it.
Yeah. So again,
you look a lot like Timothée Chalamet.
I don't know who that is.
I'll just say that the guy who played the kid from Dune.
Chalamet. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So sorry, this is weird. I think the reforms that you're talking about, I like it's interesting to use the power of the purse to change how police operate, right? So like it's I like the idea of using data, right? Gathering data and using that. Like we have so little data on how police operate, and it's very difficult because
I don't think so. I'll put in public record again. I think we have good amount of data. I think the problem is it's not being utilized.
I think
it's both.
I think
we can always use more, but I think there's enough data to make some changes.
Like on police shootings, right? On police shootings, we have very little data. Like because the police, the people who are going to gather that data are police. So if police don't want to hand over that data, they simply won't, right? And if it's the police who are transcribing the data, then then the data we're going to get will be inherently flawed.
How do you remove that problem, though? Who else would transcribe and who else would report that data besides the people that could do it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I just like it's a problem. I know. Yeah.
Whistleblower programs help with this shit. Incentivize snitches. You know what cops always say, like, see something, say something, right? Yeah, we should definitely, that same level. Police officers are always advocating, call the crime line, come forward with any possible information you have on this suspect. I want that same mentality when it comes to dealing with police officers. Practice what you preach. just like you can get $10,000. You've seen the ads, right? You've seen like the listings. Like they'll show a fugitive and it says, or a suspect, and they'll say any information on this individual will give you X amount of money. Same thing. Have certain criteria. You have this level of information on a police officer. We're gonna make your life very easy and very lucrative if you come forward. I think that'll be a beautiful thing.
Do you think there's do you think there should be something against officers that do retaliations against like officers that do stand up and snitch?
Yeah,
I mean, when I say snitch,
I mean, again, it's like 10 years in jail, and then have them be nice and rehabilitated and a felon when they leave jail. And remove their gun rights.
When it comes to be more an eye on going after the cops, right? Terrorizing the cops. I don't think there's much daylight in between us.
I don't want to terrorize cops, right? I just want them to have the same level of accountability as military members, and I want them to be as lawful as they expect the citizens in their community to be. I only want the same thing they want.
I want cops to feel like they're being watched. I want them to feel like that their freedom is on the line every time they take out the gun.
Oh, so you want to reciprocate, like what the energy they give us, you want to give it back?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to me that's fair.
Yeah,
I think they do need higher scrutiny, but mainly just because they have a far greater level of responsibility. They're supposed to be the monopolized violence in the country, so they deserve higher scrutiny.
Well, something to talk about is that national, like police forces have such strict unions. So a lot of these union, if you always hear, I don't know if you guys heard about the New York, the chief in New York who is like don't target Asians and whites, try to go for
the blacks,
Latinos,
and
Latins. People who've been in the unions for 60 years and they're still running things, right? So when we talk about, a bad system or a systemic problem, we're not only talking about past generations of cops who were overtly racist. Those motherfuckers are still in the union. They're still controlling things, and they're still controlling how the cops perceive threats, right? Huge problem. Now, how do we fix this, right?
So,
national police force would probably be the best option, right? That way you don't have these close-knit communities, because these police unions are talking to each other. They are reflecting.
No, the reason why I don't support a national
same standard.
The reason why I don't like national police forces is first off, let me just give you two examples of why I don't like it, right? I like the fact that Colorado and California can legalize marijuana, right? Because they have state police forces and they're able to make state laws which enable them to have legal weed, right? I also like states like Texas or Utah, which say, yeah, we're going to allow people to buy suppressors and buy guns freely in our states, right? I believe state rights, there's a beauty of it. What I do believe is we do need a federal police force, right, to police the fucking police. The fact that the FBI is smaller than the NYPD shouldn't be that way. Should not be that way. We should incentivize cops, federal cops, to bust down on state cops. We need more accountability, but to nationalize it, to me, opens up a can of worms. I think communities have their own approaches, their own ways of doing things, right? I do think we need a ground, like a fundamental, like foundation. We need a foundation. But other than that, I'm not for it.
Maybe I need to elaborate. When I mean a nationalization, I mean that certain agencies or certain police forces should not have the ability to restrict federal oversight. For example, LAPD after Rodney King refused federal oversight. Federal oversight was wanting to be implemented, but they refused it, right? Federal oversight should always be a thing. I was about to say the feds, but yes, the FBI should be in every.
The feds, that's fair. They are the feds.
It should be watching every single region, and they should be making sure that there is no discrepancies.
I agree with you, and I think we can agree that there's not enough resources for these officers to target officers. We need to tenfold. I'm talking about massively expand the level of money available for cops to prosecute cops.
So okay,
busting a cop should be the greatest accomplishment a cop can do. It literally should promote you.
Oh my god, that would actually be great. I want
a
totally
parade
for that.
You know when they do parades when a cop dies? Parade when a cop is prosecuted.
I would love it because then you're cleaning up the police force, right? Like these are
No,
people
but
who are keeping
but
us
think of
safe.
it this way: the
Like-
cop that prosecutes a cop is a cop who truly cares about his community.
Exactly. Yeah. You
There should be a parade.
That
You
should
should get free
absolutely
food.
no.
You are invited to the
100%.
barbecue, but
Yeah, like,
unfortunately, we have a
you-
system in place where cops are covering for each other. But the union, right? Prime, you want to go? I want to address the union thing real quick.
Okay, you go ahead.
So hot take, right? Cops are workers. Workers deserve representation. Unions are good. Now, here's the problem. Just because unions are good doesn't mean unions should have the level of power they have now. I don't believe cops should be able to collectively bargain their punitive measures, like punitive measures. How are you picking your own punishments, right? I think we need to establish a system where police chiefs have the authority to fire anyone, period. No union contract should be able to violate that, right? The buck has to stop somewhere. There has to be one person in the police department that's able to fully terminate an officer at any given moment, point blank, period. Same way, right, that somebody can get fired from a damn Chipotle.
Absolutely. No, I think that and I guess I sort of agree with more here, and that cops are workers. They deserve protection within their workplace because cops themselves can get abused by other cops, right? You know, if all cops are bastards, then of course it's going to be the case, right? And I don't want people to get abused. I want people to be able. I don't want like female cops to get sexually harassed. I want them to be able to find support from like a union rep when something like that is happening, or pay discrimination or anything like that. We need unions, but we should severely restrict their activities, including their political activities. The cops, the people with guns, should not be giving money to the people in power, right? That we shouldn't be influencing them at all in terms of like politicians. So break that. And cops, in terms of their ability to negotiate, their ability to negotiate should be very limited as to what they can negotiate for.
Yeah, it needs to be limited to work conditions, compensation, right?
Yep.
Safety, right? But it should not be what punishments you receive when you break a rule. No.
Although that might push them more towards cowardice, unfortunately.
Well, they're a bunch of cowards anyway, and they need to be terminated and replaced with individuals.
Yeah, then we should be able to then make it easier to terminate them if they're doing a bad job.
So what you're saying is going to lead to more cops being fired? Fine, let them go and continue to do so.
No, I mean letting unions like make policy or decisions based off safety that might actually incentivize cops not going into danger.
Yeah, then fire them.
Because that's what unions do for workers. That's exactly what they do.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, like firefighters still gotta fucking go into places, right?
Exactly.
Welders.
Do their unions prevent them from going into burning buildings?
It's only certain circumstances, right?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there could be some circumstances.
Water welding, super dangerous. You know, it's just like there's jobs that are just inherently dangerous.
Yeah.
Pick another job.
Okay. To my audience, we will be back on. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing gaming on doing Elden Ring gaming. So come join us, especially on YouTube. So I drop by there. On Saturday we'll have. Well, I'm not exactly sure. We'll probably have the small council, but I got a family function, so. But we will be streaming. We always stream. We never miss a stream. We haven't missed a stream yet.
Repeal qualified immunity.
So, repeal qualified immunity. Absolutely. All right. So come back then. Hit us up on social media, especially social. In chat for our social media. Hit the follow button here. Subscribe to the channel. Help out the channel. We're always doing more. So subscribe to the channel. And like our videos on YouTube. Right. Hit us up on TikTok. Like our videos on TikTok. We got a TikTok. Follow our TikTok. And we got Discord and all that good stuff. So, in which way, I will see you.